Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're not just talking about one of the greatest basketball players ever, we're actually deconstructing a mindset, a literal blueprint for greatness.
And it all started right here, with a purpose so clear, so incredibly focused, that anything, and I mean anything, that didn't serve that one goal just faded into the background. It didn't exist.
So we're not just going to look at the highlight reels. We're going to dig into the core philosophy that made the legend. And you'll see these are principles that anyone can use, whether you're on a court, in an office, or trying to master any craft at all.
All right, let's get into it. And we're going to start in a place you might not expect. Not with a big win, but with a massive, profound failure. This is kind of hard to wrap your head around, but when he was about 10 or 11 years old, a young Kobe Bryant played an entire summer league and scored exactly 0 points. Not one, no layups, no free throws, nothing. But here's the thing. The real story isn't the failure, it's his dad's reaction. Instead of being disappointed, he gave him unconditional love. And that right there, that became the psychological safety net that gave him permission to fail spectacularly.
And that security, it didn't make him lazy or complacent. It did the exact opposite. It basically set him free from the fear of failure, which let him take huge risks and shoot for goals that seemed totally impossible to everyone else.
And this is the result. With that fear just gone, he made a deal with himself. At just 13 years old, he committed to his life's purpose. The foundation was officially set. So, okay, he's got this rock-solid purpose, but how did he actually turn that ambition into reality? Well, it wasn't some kind of magic. It was a deliberate, almost obsessive process of taking his craft apart piece by piece. See, he didn't try to learn everything at once. He treated his skills like a master builder, creating this menu and then dedicating himself to one tool at a time. He would literally spend months just perfecting his shooting form before he'd even think about moving on to the next thing. While all the other kids his age were just relying on being faster and more athletic to win games, Kobe was in the background, systematically building his game from the absolute ground up. He was betting that solid, boring fundamentals would eventually beat raw talent. And he was right. He even got creative about his motivation. He saw his name on a national ranking list at number 57, and he created a literal kill list of the 56 players ranked ahead of him. His mission on the travel circuit became brutally simple: find them and hunt them down one by one. Now, when you're that driven, you're obviously going to face setbacks. But the way he thought about losing was on a completely different planet from the rest of us. Just think about it for a second. For most people, losing is a gut punch, right? It's that feeling you want to avoid at all costs. But when Kobe was asked that exact question, his answer was something else entirely. His answer was a single word: exciting. And the reason why he said that, well, it's a total masterclass in developing a winning mindset. So here it is. This is the whole key. For Kobe, a loss wasn't the end of the story. It was just data. It was like a treasure map that showed him exactly what parts of his game were weak and needed to be fixed.
He treated every single failure like it was a puzzle he had to solve. Remember those infamous air balls he shot in the playoffs? He didn't freak out. He analyzed it. He realized the shots were straight, but they were coming up short. That told him it wasn't a problem with his skill. It was because his legs were tired. So the solution wasn't to change his shot. It was to change his weight training to last an 82-game season.
So, as you can imagine, this incredible mental toughness also applied to his physical body. He had this legendary tolerance for pain, and there's no better example than what happened in a huge game back in 2013.
He tears his Achilles tendon. It's an injury that athletes say feels like getting kicked or even shot in the back of the leg. But instead of collapsing in a heap, he refuses help, walks to the free throw line, sinks both shots, and then walks off the court by himself. I mean, how is that even possible? Well, he explained it with this really powerful analogy. He said if your house was on fire and your kids were trapped upstairs, you wouldn't feel your pulled hamstring. You would sprint up those stairs to save them because their lives are way more important than your pain. For him, the mission was always more important than the injury. And he wasn't doing this to be some kind of superhero. It was a message to his teammates and especially to his own kids, that an obstacle does not get to define you. It doesn't get to be your finish line. And that idea right there of setting an example for others, that leads us right into his final and maybe his most profound definition of what greatness really is. This is where his whole philosophy really leveled up, It moved beyond just his own achievements. He realized that true greatness isn't something that you just hoard for yourself. It's something you give away to others. So when you look at the big picture, all of it, the crazy work ethic, the pain, the obsession, it was all for something much, much bigger than himself. It was about creating this ripple effect of inspiration that would keep going long after his playing days were over.
And that leaves us with his final challenge, which he basically passes on to all of us. It's not just about reaching your own goals. The real question is, how will your story, how will your effort become the spark that lights that fire of greatness in someone else?